Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel 3D Sword Academy. In this video I will show you how to create a cool 3D tiling pattern for your 3D model. I will explain 3 different ways to do this. One method will be in Blender, another in Zbrush, and finally in Substance Painter. Let's start with Blender. Here we have a prepared 3D model of a head, but this can be any other 3D model. The rules are the same. There are a few important principles you need to follow. The first one is having an even topology. There should be no uneven gaps like this, because this can cause the pattern to stretch and display incorrectly. You also need a proper UV unwrap. There are 2 important nuances here. If we want the pattern to be uniform and as consistent as possible across the entire surface, the UVs should not be straightened. As you can see, here I straighten them, but for this case we need a different unwrap. With this kind of UV light the pattern will tile evenly, but it may not display exactly as intended. However, if that is not critical, we can simply use a basic UV unwrap and the textile density will be acceptable. If we straighten the UVs, the textile density becomes uneven. As you can see, in some places it is smaller and in others it is larger, so this choice depends entirely on your task. Next step for this example, I want the pattern to follow evenly from top to bottom and look logical, similar to how it would like in real life. We create the UV unwrap and straighten everything. I do this using the default UV toolkit in Blender. There's an option called Straighten UVs. This add-on is well known and available in Blender Preferences under Extensions and UV Toolkit. After that we can pack the UVs using Pack UV Islands. I line it vertically, the result is perfectly fine for our needs. That's all for the basic preparation. Now let's take a closer look at how to apply the pattern in Blender. This method is very simple and fast. First we add a subdivision surface modifier. We need a lot of geometry because the pattern will be applied like a sculpt. I usually use around 5 or 6 subdivision levels. Next we add a displace modifier. Now we need to load our pattern. This is a black and white pattern that I found online on Pinterest. Before using it, we should check if the pattern tiles correctly. In Photoshop we can preview the pattern and confirm that it tiles properly. If it doesn't, you will see obvious seams similar to checkboard effect. Once confirmed, we load the pattern into Blender. At first the effect will be very subtle. We reduce the mid-level to 0 and adjust strength slightly. At this point the pattern may look distorted. This is because we need to switch the coordinates to UV. Once we do that, the pattern displays correctly. Now we increase the strength a bit, and as you can see the pattern tiles properly. This works because we have correct UVs and good topology. To change the tiling, we go to the texture mapping settings and adjust the scale values. Increasing these values increases the tiling frequency. The pattern might not be very detailed yet, which means we need more subdivisions, but overall it already works correctly. That's basically it. We can freely control both the strength and the tiling. In my opinion, this is one of the best methods because it's very flexible. For example, we can change the UV unwrap at any time. If we want a more uniform pattern, we can do a standard UV unwrap. The pattern may not align perfectly, but it will be evenly distributed across the surface. We can also use average island scale to automatically fix uneven textile density. Once everything looks good, we can apply the modifiers and get a finished high poly model ready for baking onto a low poly mesh. Now let's move on to Zbrush. We import the same model and the logical here is very similar, just with different tools. We subdivide the mesh to a high resolution, but not too high to avoid performance issue. Since we already have a good UV unwrap, we go to the layers panel and enable a layer. This allows us to control the intensity of the pattern later. Then we open surface noise and enable alpha. We load our black and white pattern. It is very important to set the projection mode to UV, not 3D. If it's set to 3D, the pattern will be projected based on the camera view, which is incorrect. With UV mode enabled, the pattern displays correctly. We adjust the scale and strength until it looks right. Once satisfied, we apply the noise to the mesh. Because of textile density differences, the result might not be perfectly uniform, but this can be adjusted by going back to Blender if needed. To apply the effect permanently, we use Apply to Mesh. Now the pattern is fully part of the geometry. We can still adjust the layer strength if needed. The final method is using Substance Painter. We export our model with proper topology and UVs and load it into Substance Painter. We create a fill layer and keep only the normal channel enabled. Next, we generate a normal map for our pattern. This can be done using any normal map generator, but I prefer a dedicated tool because it gives better results. We load the texture, convert it to a normal map, adjust tile intensity and save it. Then we import this normal map into Substance Painter and apply it to the fill layer. We can easily control the tiling and scale here. This workflow is very fast and flexible. If the result looks uneven, we can add masks and additional fill layers to refine the effect. By adjusting the tiling values, we can achieve a very uniform result. Substance Painter is extremely convenient for this kind of work, but it has some limitations. We don't get full baked information like ambient occlusion or curvature directly from geometry. These effects are only simulated through textures. In contrast, Blender and Zbrush allow us to bake full information from high poly to low poly, including curvature and ambient occlusion, which gives better results for texturing. In my opinion, Blender is the best option if you need a complete texture set with proper baking. Substance Painter is the fastest, but most universal method for quick results. Zbrush sits somewhere in between. That's it for this video. If you want more useful and professional 3D content, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and like the video. Maybe you know an even better way to do this. Feel free to share it in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.